What did your folks do for a living?
My mother used to work for, when I was little, she used to work for the Indian boarding school. My dad worked for the Cheyenne Arapaho tribes, and he was a heavy equipment operator. And then my mother was a homemaker.
And when she worked, it was at Concho?
Yes. And she also worked at Xerox.
Okay.
And she was also a substance abuse counselor for the Cheyenne Arapaho tribes. But now she's all retired and everything.
Neat. How many siblings do you have, and where do you fall?
I have 2 sisters and 1 brother. I am the third. Oh, the second. I'm sorry. I'm the second. Yeah.
What was your relationship with your grandparents on either side of your family?
My relationship with my grandparents is really, really, really good. On my father's side, my grandpa's name was George Levi. He was Arapaho, and my grandmother's name was Lillian Whitebird Levi from Watonga, and I practically grew up with them. And my grandparents on my mother's side, my grandpa's name was Floyd Tallbear, and he was from Deer Creek, and he died before I was born. And my grandmother's name on my mom's mother's was Rose Homie Greeny, and she also passed away before I was born. But I grew up around her sisters, Maud Greeny Allrunner and Ella Greeny Shoto, north of Reno, and those were practically my grandmother's grandfolks too.
Mm-hmm. What was your exposure to Cheyenne language as a child?
I was pretty much with it. I grew up with it. In fact, my grandma Lily, she used to go to OU in the summertime, teach Cheyenne at the Summer Institute's Linguistics. Her and all her cousins, her sisters, all went down there in the 70s, 80s. So I grew up with the Cheyenne language. I also grew up with the Arapaho language too as well. My grandpa, he was fluent in Arapaho, and when his relatives would come around, they'd all speak. But on both sides, I grew up with Cheyenne. My grandmother, like I said, on my dad's side and on my mother's side, they all spoke Cheyenne.
What were some of your artistic influences growing up?
Artistically, I grew up, I was influenced. I seen my grandpa, Kish Whitebird, one of my grandma's little brothers. He was a silversmith, and I seen him all the time. He'd always come stay with us, and I seen him doing his silver work. And then I also seen my dad's cousin, his first cousin, Jerome Bushyhead. I grew up around him all the time. He's always coming to our house, or we go see him and his brother Henry, my dad's other cousin. They were both painters, so they did a lot of painting. And then beadwork wise, I see my mom, my grandmas. They all, I guess you could say, were like master beaders. And then I also at my grandma's place at north of Geary, Melvin Blackman, he was a Arapaho. He would come down to our place every day to eat lunch with us. Literally, he would walk 5 miles every day to come eat lunch or dinner with my grandparents, and we'd give him a ride home. And he was always had his beadwork all the time. All the time, he always had his beadwork. And then, I saw these. My grandpa had a lot of books, and I seen a lot of the ledger art and stuff like that. And then I was always really a big fan of Carl Sweezy's work, because my grandpa had a couple pieces when he was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I seen that all the time.
So, what is your first memory like of seeing Native art?
My first memory of seeing what the general public sees as Native art, like paintings, was in, like, you you say, from like Time and Life books my grandpa had, and had a lot of the old paintings. I guess the old leather-bound books that were put out, had the American Indian series from the 1960s or whatever. And then my grandpa had a lot of books, you know. He had a lot of artwork. They had a lot of artwork, but basically the main ones I really remember is just like seeing when I was like 5 or 6 years old, Indian summer school in Reno, seeing my Uncle Jerome come around. He showed us his art, and he talked to us kids.
What's your first memory of making art?
My first memory of making art, just being a little kid, drawing teepees on paper, making God's eyes, drawing G.I. Joe guys, you know, drawing superheroes, you know, stuff like that in the comic books. That's just typical Indian kid. That's my first memories.
What were your art experiences in school, in elementary school, growing up?
I drew on anything. It didn't matter if it was a school book. I got in trouble for drawing inside those books. Anything I could draw on, I basically drew on. And then if I could get my hands on crayons or pens or paint, it didn't matter. I painted. I tried to paint, you know, and I never thought I would be an artist, but it was just something I did. And I see my little boy Hardy, and he's 9 years old. I see him doing the same thing I was doing the same back then.
Did you get a lot of support for your artwork at home or at school?
Not really, because I have an older sister named Lisa, and she was the artist, and she was the painter. She went to Bake Home, and she got immersed in all the art up there. And she in El Reno, she took all the art classes. She did everything. You know, she won all the awards and stuff like that. I got a little notice because I did a really cool piece for the VFW Poppy Veterans Day thing. I won a big award one time. I drew a hands up for the ones who gave back when I was like 12 years old. But other than that, I never really got the exposure.
How about your art background in school, public school, in middle school or high school? Kind of a base did you get?
I never really took art, anything like that. I never envisioned myself doing art. You know, being taught art and stuff like that, I just literally did it all on my own. You know, that's what I did. I never envisioned that I would become an artist or anything like that. I was just, if I had time, or which I did, you know, I did that. But I was like into athletics and stuff like that, and ag and stuff like that, like a farm boy and stuff.
When did you sell your first piece of art?
What's that?
When did you sell your first piece of art?
I say like maybe selling my first piece of art. I don't. It's been a long time. I can't nail it down. Gosh, I did it. I used to do a lot of pieces a long time ago. Beadwork style, maybe like 20 years ago. It's that. But that's it. I can't really. I don't know. I'd say about 15, 20 years ago.
Okay. And when did you begin beading? First begin beading?
I've always beaded. Like I said, my mother beaded almost on a constant basis. She was always beading, making moccasins or pouch sets or whatever. And my grandmas did that. And in fact, I used to bead, put things together like little chokers and little small stuff. And I used to take them with me when my grandma would be teaching at, when I'd go with my grandpa to go visit my grandma at OU. And I'd go to the Sam Noble Museum right there where the old museum used to be, and I used to take my stuff in there. I'd sell it to them. Yeah, so that's like basically when I stole my first piece of art, I was like 10 years old probably.
So after you left high school, what happened?
I just went out there. Well, the big part of my life is gone. My grandparents, they died when I was like a junior and senior in high school, and then my dad was working at the Concho at the Tribes, and somehow he pulled string, got me a job out there, and I used to work with Melvin Romanos. I worked out for the Tribe for a while, and I worked for their farm program and stuff like that for a long time, and that was it. You know, I did a lot of athletic stuff. You know, I played a lot of softball. I traveled all over the United States playing with some major fast pitch, playing with one of the top teams in the country. I was going all over. I played from pretty much literally year round.
What team?
I used to play with a team called Blackhawks out of Arizona, California, and I used to go all over. So, and in fact, I'm still playing ball now, and so I still go to California and go all over.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you get seek any more formalized training at any point, art training?
No, never have. Everything I've ever done is self-taught, give it a whirl. You know, see something that I like, and I try to just get out there and just get my hands on it and go with it. That's all I did. Never had any. Nobody teach me how to do anything. You know, it's just I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna go try it. That's it. That go-getter attitude, I guess you could say. So,
when did you sort of decide you were going to try to make your living doing art?
I'd say maybe 12 years ago, 11 years ago, maybe. I'd done some work. Actually, I started selling some things. People seen some of the stuff I started making. People like my beadwork, and people like my rawhide stuff, and they like my drawings and paintings. And then, man, it just snowballed. You know, a lot of people really started liking my stuff. I'd take art with me, and I'd go everywhere. I'm going through Phoenix, I stopped by the Herd and stopped by their gift shop, and they'd buy from me. And people in California or Santa Fe or just wherever, I always carried a bag full of stuff with me. And
so even when you were playing ball? Or
yeah,
okay.
Especially like that.
Right.
And a lot of people, they knew I did art, and they'd come up to me and say, "Hey, you bring some of your artwork." And it's just like word of mouth, you know. People say, "Hey, you know, he's doing some artwork, or he's doing this and that." And I'd get a phone call or email or something like that, and people. Then we had me and my wife Heather. We had our little girl, Helson, and being a dad, a stay-at-home dad, you know, it gave me the opportunity to be a full-time artist, and so that's what I've been doing the last going on 11 years.
Right.
Yeah, because she's going to be 11 in May. So I've been doing that full time all the time, and so that's it.
So when you're set up to paint, your daughter was little,
Mm-hmm.
did she come hang out with you too?
Yeah, that's like my little boy. Yeah, I put him in the walkers and stuff like that. Let's see, the business aspect of being an artist, it's really complex, really, but at the same time it's really simple. Just going over making sure, you know, keeping good records, making sure you got your taxes in order. That's the main thing. And you know, building a good a good, what you call it, with your people, your
Rapport,
clientele. Yeah. Especially with the collectors. Staying in touch with them. Because like last week, I did this show in Washington, D.C. for the Smithsonian. And I had the opening night, Friday night, I go back to the motel and check my email. I got 5 emails from collectors out of New York City. They said, we were looking for you. And they said, you're in D.C. But it's like that. It's just staying on top of everything. That's the main thing. Trying not to let nothing slide. And always looking at what market was good, what market was not good, and picking and choosing. And that's the main thing. Just staying on top of everything. There's a lot of aspects to look at it, business-wise. And it took me years and years and years, and I'm still learning the game, learning how to deal with all this every time, because every market is different, and with I guess the economy fluctuates and everything like that. So it just sometimes I have to raise my prices, sometimes I have to drop it. So it just but getting the main thing is just making sure I cover my costs and making sure I have enough money to buy materials and enter the markets and motel and everything. It just all adds up.
How many markets do you do typically?
Let's see, I usually do the herd, do Red Earth, Indian Market, Santa Fe, and Smithsonian. Those are the main ones I do. Also, I do Haskell. Haskell and the Wichita Indian Art Market. That's about 6 markets a year.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
What's the best business advice you've gotten, either from another artist or?
Best business advice I got from another artist is just I think just keep going, don't give up. That's basically it. The market's down. You got to look forward to. There's always going to be somebody else down the line. And it's one of my buddies. His name is Gary Royable, from who I share a booth with from time to time. He's from Isleta, I believe. Well, he's not from. He's from Santa Fe, but he lives in Isleta, and we're hunting buddies, and we talk about stuff like that. Just don't give up. That's the best advice I ever got.
What's the best compliment you've sort of gotten on your artwork?
Best compliment I ever got is just when people they look at my art and they start crying. They look at it and they start thinking about how Cheyenne's lived back in the day, and they just say, your art is just one of a kind, different from other lecture artists, because there are other lecture artists do pretty much the same stuff, where you're just like telling the real story. That's pretty much the basic I ever got, and I think that's pretty much like the best compliments I ever get like that. And almost every market, people will say that. Wherever I go to, they'll look at my art and they'll just say it's just so full of everything, the detail. That's what I strive to do. And that's basically it.
Do you have what kinds of gallery representation do you have at the moment?
Gallery-wise, it's just basically Tribe 131 down there. I have one piece up there, Pearson's up there, Tulsa. Nevacoy Arts up there, they have a couple pieces of mine, and Buffalo Chips Gallery in Billings, Montana has my work. Let's see. Hotel Santa Fe. In Santa Fe, they have some of my work there. They have a gift shop there in Santa Fe, and I think the Herd's got a piece, and the Smithsonian, National Museum of American Indian, they carry my work, and I did have some work. There used to be a gallery in Guthrie, but she's closed down now, and let me think, Native American Trading Company now, I guess, in Denver. And I have a couple, 2, 3 pieces of my buddy's place up there at Custer Battlefield Trading Post, up there at Crow Agency. They sell my buddy Mike Thompson. I think he has a couple pieces of my work there. That's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm. You've been pretty innovative, I think, in the kinds of paper that you use as a background for your ledger art, like sheets of music or like an old check or something. And then when you see those images on there, it creates all these associations.
Yeah.
I was wondering what comes first, if you have the image in mind and you're then looking for the right paper for it, or vice versa?
It basically goes with the paper. The dates, where it's from, and a lot of it does with the size. I will, it's like I came across some paper out of Montana last year. So I did scenes basically with like, would it be Northern Cheyennes, and I've come across some paper out of Kansas, Nebraska, and Texas, and I did more of the Southern Cheyenne stuff on that. And some of the checks I come across, if they're I'd like to say period, like 1850 to 1870s, I'll do good scenes on those. And same thing with like the old antique hymnals I can come across. With those, I will take the song title and I will go do a scene according to the titles of those. And but it just varies, the dates and the locations of where the ledgers come out of.
One of the misperceptions about flat style art was that it was like easy to do, and it was fast. And sometimes I think that's also a fast style. That's a misperception sometimes about ledger art.
Yeah. People, they a lot of people that come up to me, how long did it take you to make? Do that's a common question I get. Any given market I get asked like about 50 times a market, and it's telling a story over and over and over. And some pieces, I guess, if I just want to do like a straight black and white drawing, it can be done in an hour. But most of the pieces take a couple of days. Some take weeks. Sometimes take a month. It just depends on how many people I put in there, and the detail, what kind of scene and whatnot. And especially with the type of paint I use or the media that I'm using, it just varies. I guess some people don't think that it's 2D art. It's flat style. They don't think it's. Thinks it goes fast. But me, I like to put a depth into it myself. Put backgrounds behind it. Do all that stuff. A lot of stuff into it. So it all takes time. And especially with these paints. I try not to. They bleed, and they'll bleed onto each other. So I just take my time. It takes a lot of time.
You're talking about watercolor then?
Watercolor, gouache.
And gouache.
Some of the watered down acrylics I'll do, or especially the India inks. That's what I'm talking about. And they'll just they'll run. So, but sometimes like if I do, I've done some basically wet on wet watercolors on ledger paper, and they take about 4 or 5 hours, not too long. But it's just that goes fast. You got to do it like that. Do it fast anyway. But it's a misconception, because it's not like a grabbing crayons and filling it in. Because everything I do is I do freehand. I'm not like a lot of the other artists I know that do use tracing, use those machines. There's a lot of guys out there that do that. And me, well, if you're an artist, do it by hand. Don't use a tracing machine. I mean, or a projector. There's a lot of people that use projectors out there in the ledger art game now. I know it, because they're just too damn precise. The stuff they do. But hey, if that's what they think art is, that's fine. That's on them.
You had a solo show at Southern Plains Indian Museum in 2010. What did that mean to you?
That was really cool. When I was contacted about that, it was being a solo show like that. It was because I grew up going there all the time when I was a kid. My grandma would sell beadwork there, my mom would sell beadwork there, and we would go down there, and they'd have all this art there all the time. So it was really big to me because it's my first solo show, and it's funded by the Department of the Interior, and they made a really big deal out of it, and it was good. A lot of publicity to it, and it was all about my art too, so that was a plus, because it didn't just show my paintings. They showed my rawhide art. They had my beadwork on there, and they had all different kind of stuff I did, and it was really cool, because I could go online and see it. I could share a link with a bunch of collectors and people that I knew, and it was really cool. It meant a lot to me.
How many pieces did you have in there?
I think I had like about four or five beadwork pieces. I had some leggings that I did, pipe bags, and some moccasins that I'd done, full bead of moccasins, and I had some 5 or I want to say like 10 painted pieces, and then I had some rawhide cases that I'd done, flat cases and cylinder cases, and I think there's probably 15 or 20 pieces. It was really good. They had it all spread out. Yeah. It was really good.
What's something that you feel is sometimes difficult to communicate with your art?
With my art, something that's kind of hard to communicate to people is like, say the beadwork, the designs. Some of these designs that I use are family designs we have, that are in my family, and I'll put those out there, and I see my grandma. I guess we look at them like we own them, and then you go somewhere and see somebody else using the same designs later on, and that's kind of hard, to communicate. You want to tell other people, say, hey, don't be using those designs. And another thing is, for like my art, just like ledger art, I just as every piece is unique. Each story is, everything is different. But I put so much detail into a lot of my work. It's somebody wants to, they'll ask me, what's this. I can spend like 2-3 hours just on one piece, and it just takes a lot of time to describe what my meaning is. I could tell them just real bluntly, but then they want to know this and this and this, why. Sometimes I wish I could just tell them, it's just a piece of art, but there's always a meaning behind it. And sometimes the people that are not around Cheyennes, they don't know nothing about Cheyennes, they think I'm making this stuff up, and I think that's the hardest thing to explain to them, that for like ledger art, I tell them that it started in the 1850s, and they want to believe it all started up in Marion in 1870s, 75, 76. And there's a lot of stuff out there, I guess you could say. It's hard to explain to people.
How much of your business then comes from commissions, and how much comes from booth shows, and how much from galleries, roughly?
I really do not rely on galleries that much because I don't visit the galleries too much. Commissions, I get commissions I wouldn't say all the time, but I do get a lot of commission work, and I'm usually going all the time with commission work, but I tend to rely on for like a lot of majority of my sales is for from markets.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm always you know, I'd say within a week or 2 weeks after every market, then I'll start getting a flurry of emails or getting calls. Do you still have this piece? No, I don't. Well, can you replicate a piece like that for me? And you know, it's like that. I should have bought it then. It was like the other day. I had this guy email me from out of Maryland. He said, I was trying to buy this piece. I wanted to buy a piece off you, but my girlfriend's right there, and so can you please send it to me, you know? And then he said, I need it overnight. I need it down by Friday, you know, just like that. But I really don't rely on galleries too much because when I'm in a gallery, there's a competition. There's so many other 20, 30, 40 other artists out there, and there's always somebody looking, you know, wanting something, they'll see something else. But it's like markets is the best for me.
Like when he wanted that expedited mailed real fast, was it because it was for his girlfriend and he
Yeah,
wanted to know?
that's why he wanted it.
What a great
surprise.
And
he'd come over there and she'd beeline with him, and he'd put that piece back, and he came by like my booth like 10 times that one day. And then,
that's neat. Can you talk a little bit about that? You've done some illustrations for Cheyenne Children that are in the public school system, to Indian education, I guess.
I think it was in 2007. I seen an advertisement in tribal paper, or 2008, that they were looking for artists to. There's a project coming. I didn't know what it was, so I threw my hat in the ring, and I had done a lot of work with my bro Bunsen White Man, and he got in touch with me after I submitted some stuff, some artwork, you know, pictures and stuff like that. And he told me that they were going to do some books for our kids, our Cheyenne and our Arapaho kids. And you know, he selected me as an artist to do work in the book. Actually selected me and Uncle Vernon Bullcoming. He did one piece for one cover for the Cheyennes, and selected my cousin Brent Leonard for the Arapahos. And they just told us, they gave us everything, you know, what Bunsen ever wrote, and he could go with it and just do me some drawings according to all this and that. So I did that. You know, I thought it was just long overdue. You know, because you know, because they're saying it's integrated into the public school system for our kids out west. You know, because we grew up, we didn't hear nothing about no Indians. You know, something like that. Even in Oklahoma history, we never heard anything about this. You know, it was just like, you know, boomer sooner, you know, land run, blah blah blah. Let's celebrate the you know, that manifest destiny and stuff like that. But you know, our kids, I thought it was excellent, an excellent idea for it, because our kids need to know who they are. A lot of us grew up, you know, the way we grew up, we know who we are. But there's a lot of kids out there that don't. They're kind of lost out there. And it's good to, you know, to integrate some of the traditional stories and some of the language.
So let's talk about your creative techniques and process a little more. you've already mentioned some of the media you use for your ledger art, etc. But you've done some work with hide, as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. What are some of the challenges of that, and what kinds of
the hides?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, there's just so much, really.
Including getting it right.
Yeah, well, you know, I brain tan. I know how to brain tan. I'll brain tan some stuff.
Oh, you do your own brain tanning?
I'll do some of that stuff, and if I'm, in fact, I've got a brain tan elk hide in my garage. I'm fixing to do some work on. It's working with hide is kind of hard because it's kind of porous, and sometimes the paint, you have to rough it up a little bit. It won't really stick to it. Mm-hmm. It'll kind of like flake off or something like that. Especially if I'm doing it with rawhide. You know, it depends on what kind. If I buy commercial rawhide, or if I make my own, and that's still kind of a hard thing to do. Again, because the paints I use, I have to make them really kind of heavy or something like that. But sometimes it won't stick very good.
And it's acrylic that you're using?
Yeah, I use acrylics, and mainly when I do the rawhide, I use acrylics, but I also use watercolors, like a Doc Martin watercolors. I'll use those on there, and but sometimes I just got to roughen them up a little bit and make sure, like almost like incise it, the design in, and then come back in. There's some cross hatching and stuff like that and stuff on the rawhide. But some of the hide paintings I do, it goes on sometimes real good, but sometimes I just got to be careful with when I fold it, because unless I seal it really good, it'll tend to, you know, it'll smear or something like that.
In terms of the paper backgrounds that you use, that must be quite a search. I mean, do you search for the right materials?
Really, for the ledger paper I get, I really don't look for it. I don't. It comes to me mainly through collectors, or people who just they'll show up with it. You know, I got a buddy out of New Mexico. He's a Blackfoot guy, and he lives in Cuesta, and he's always got ledger books. He'll call me up or email me, hey, I'll be here, and I'll meet you in the market. I'm gonna bring so and so. Where he'll call me when he's coming through town. Hey, I've got some stuff. Let's do some trading. So usually I'll get a call or email. Somebody will say, hey, I got a ledger book. I got a couple ledger books. Can you give me one of your originals for? And it's just like that. I'll give them an original, and they'll give me 2 or 3 books. And I got a buddy named Michael Jordan. He's a professor down at Texas Tech. He's always on a prowl for stuff like that, and he's always bringing me paper.
That's great. And we've talked about the fact that, well, we haven't talked about the fact that you like to use Cheyenne language in the titles of your paintings.
Yeah, you know, I will, a lot of my stuff, if I'm doing like women or men, or, you know, like a family type of scene, I'll include, say, I've done a couple pieces. It's Little Elk. That's my daughter's name. Or I'll put Almoeshtitz, you know, Walks with the Wind Woman. That's my daughter Helson's name. Or you know, I'll put Magah Hittim, you know, Metal Woman. That's my wife's name. Or else I'll put my name, or put somebody else's, my grandpa's name, or somebody else's name in there. I'll do it. Or else I'll put something, you know, in Cheyenne. You know, like if they're fighting Pawnees, I'll put it in Cheyenne, or if I'm doing this, I'll put some language in there. That way, they'll know that a Cheyenne did it. You know, and so if somebody wants to come along and copy my art, they don't know what I'm sitting out there, but you know, whoever's going to buy it or gets it from me, I'll tell them exactly what it means and why I did it. You know, stuff like that. Why I put a name on there in Cheyenne. And it all goes back. Everything I do is my art is all Cheyenne. I try to do, even though I'm part Arapaho. I'll get asked to do some Arapaho scenes, and I'm also part of Oglala on my mother's side. And every now and then I'll get somebody who likes my art. I'll say, "Can you kick out an Oglala scene?" I'll kick one out, maybe once a year.
Mm.
But mostly it has to do with Cheyenne. That's how I was raised, being around Cheyenne. So
Yeah.
I want to do Cheyenne art.
And you do a lot of family images. I
Yeah.
think that is one thing that makes your work different.
Yeah. I try to, I'll do the pieces on men. But the core thing of being Cheyenne is that, we hold our women sacred. The way I know it. Our kids are sacred. Our women are sacred. Because they bring everything into life into this world. And that's why these men back in the day, that's why they were warriors. They did it they went out and took all this, they fought these other people. They took these other people off their land, and they took their territories, where they fought the military. That way their family could be taken care of. They did all that stuff so they could have food, but I wouldn't say food on their table because they didn't have tables, but so they could feed their family. That's basically what it boiled down to. All of that was just this, being a Cheyenne back then, and the scenes they did, how they lived. It all boiled down to their family, taking care of their kids, taking care of their extended family, taking care of their wife, and all that stuff they went through was just these men, they sacrificed their lives basically, so they're for their growth of their people. They say Histonio, our people, stuff like that. That's what it's all about. Or Nawal, my relations. That's what it's all about.
How about your signature? Sometimes it's hard to come up with a signature for an artist.
I just put, when I sign it, I just put George Curtis Levi. I used to put George Levi, but I put Curtis on it because then I put Cheyenne on there, and then I started adding the Curtis after my dad died 5 years ago, and that's his name, Curtis, and I was named after him. And at the same time, I'm out of a family, this Curtis family. There's a real big family. I'm out of this. There's Bentz, and there's Curtis, and there's Burns, and all this. Oh, that whole group. I always put that Curtis because people always say you're Curtis. You're out of that Curtis family. That's why you're named Curtis. And I'll put it out there, just because George Curtis Levi, because they say I'm named after George Curtis, stuff like that. But I just signed George Curtis Levi. That's it. I'll put Cheyenne. That's why I put it out there. And there's people I guess they know me now who I am.
So, what's your creative process, starting with how you get an idea?
I'll just sit there and I read a lot of the history. I've tried to know as much as I can of where people struggles, where they come from in Canada, where they come across the Great Lakes and our creation stories and everything like that, and how Erect Torrance brought us that sacred hat and those things that go with that, and how Sweet Medicine brought us those arrows, and how everything, and how our people came together as Septai and Cheyenne, to assist us, and how they come together, and how our men, lived before that, and what Sweet Medicine brought us, and our societies. And then I read about, I try to listen to how, where we ranged, who we encountered, and what we did back then. And you know, they traveled, them 10 bands, they were all over the place, and they were living, you know, women were giving birth, they were raising their kids on the move all the time. They were constantly on the go, and it's not like now. We live in a home, we can go to the grocery store and get food. Back then, you know, they had to worry about enemies, they had to worry about feeding their families, and usually their extended families, every day. They had to know where the water was, they had to know where the wood was, and everything, where the buffalo chips, whatever they used. And they, you know, they had it tough. But at the same time, you know, the way they dressed, the way they carried themselves, you know, they knew they were dominant. They knew they were the ones to be, the force to be reckoned with, because everybody knew who Cheyennes were back then. They you know, it must have been hard to be a Pawnee or be a Kiowa back before they made peace, or be Shoshone or Crow, or somebody, knowing that there were Cheyennes out there, and their Cheyennes usually going to come and get you and push you out of the way because they wanted this. And you know, them people, they were proud, you know, and they didn't have much, but they had everything, you know. And but it's just everything all boils into one, and I try to envision about what they went through, how they lived, and I try to put it out there. Maybe one scene, maybe I've got little girls out there playing, and what they did, how they had their animals, or how they made their animals, or how they were dressed, or how they were, you know, had their little teepees. Or sometimes I've done some scenes where little boys are coming in on stick horses and they're messing with those kids. Or it's just the Cheyenne life in general, you know. I try to, there's all different kinds of aspects to it. There's, you know, wintertime, springtime, summer, fall, weather, everything. And I try to put it all in, because every day was a new day, and you know, everything was different, I guess you could say. And I try to think about that, and then I think about how I was raised, and how, you know, everything was with struggles, and I know they had struggles, and you know, there was war and everything out there. And there was good times and bad times, and that's why I always try to put together, like, I've been doing one scene, done a couple of times, it's called New Life. Shows a Cheyenne woman holding a cradle board. And the reason I did that, showing there's a couple, 2, 3 other people on this side. And her and her husband and her daughters on this side, and they've got a little boy cradle board. And that's because I tell people the reason I did that is because our people lived in bands. And the only time they come together is either for arrow renewal, you know, Sundance, religious ceremonies, or a time of war. And this shows them when they come back together. They're showing a new baby that was born, you know, when they were off.
Right.
That's why I try to show, you know, it's not just a generic, you know, battle scenes or generic buffalo hunt like a lot of people do. I try to cover everything, except for religious ceremonies. That's the only one that I'm not going to touch those.
Well, you've got a lot more years to go in your career, but looking back from this moment, what was an important fork in the road when you could have gone one way and you chose to go another? In life, or just in art? Either one.
Either one. I think one main thing is I always wanted to be in the military. I was 18, 19 years old, and I cut my hand real bad when I was 16. I was making a cord. I cut my ligaments in my fingers, I did it at Geary. Barely made it with Tonga, man. We had a bad, made it ER with Tonga, and I bled out really bad. And my dad was always on to me. You need to go in the Army. Go in the Army. You're going to see the world. And so I tried to enlist a couple of times. Went through, did everything in the MEPS, and I got one bad joint right here in my finger, and they would never let me sign the paper. Then I also had a little hearing loss in my left ear, and they would never let me take it. That's one fork in the road. That's one. Because if I see it now, if I would have went in, that's when Desert Storm and everything was going on, and I would have been in around the same time. And there's no telling what would have happened, you know. I could see a bunch of my bros that went over there, and they come back kind of, you know, had a hard time dealing with things. And then that's one fork. I don't think it. I don't know if I would have done that, how I would be now. I don't know if I'd be an artist now or not, you know, because I see, like I said, some of my buds, you know, they had a hard time readjusting, and that's it. And but as for an art-wise, I think it's just for like a, you know, I could have been like some of these people out there, not knowing how to take that first step in art. There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people that are talented, way more talented than I am, out there here in our communities. I can go to any community out there and I'll see these guys that do great art, but they just don't know how to get started. But that's just I guess a fork that I took. I took a chance with my wife's backing. I took a chance of trying to get out there. She was always saying, "Man, you do some great art." And I had people say, "You do great art. You need to be out there." And I didn't know where to go, how to go about it. And I go to these little galleries, and they take my art, and people were saying, "You need to do these markets, your stuff." And it's just, you know, being afraid of being rejected was something that I was afraid of at first. But then my wife said, "Well, you know," and some other people, some other artists said, you got to keep on going, because sometimes it takes about 3 or 4 times before you're going to get accepted into a market. You got to keep on pushing. You got to keep on pushing, and not I guess I was willing to be turned down a few times, but I wanted to keep on striving, because I wanted to make it, and I knew somehow, some way I was going to make it into this art stuff. And you know, I guess people say, when I see these, I go around these art markets, man, people come up to me and they're asking me all kinds of advice. How do you do this? How do you do that, man? Well, you're George, you know, you're way up there, you know. And I'm saying, I'm just an ordinary, you know, country boy from Oklahoma, you know, from Northwest Oklahoma, and you guys are trying to say I'm way up here. And I'm just glad that you know, I had people pushing me. My wife pushed me, and my bros pushed me, and then I you know, I look up to these other guys, you know. I seen like Merlin, you know, like Merlin or Brent, you know. I've always seen their stuff in those calendars for all these years, you know. And I see those guys, you know, and man, just seeing these guys out there, you know, just these different artists out there that are top-notch artists, and just being able to, you know, and put in the same category as these other guys out there, and like, say when I go to do Market or Santa Fe or do the Herd, or do these Smithsonian people, and people they come up to me and say, "Man, can you tell me what kind of, you know, give me some advice. You've been in the Smithsonian for all these years, and they sell your stuff there." And I'm just, man, I'm just like you, and you got to do trial and error, you know. You guys want my secrets? I'm not going to tell you. You're going to have to do it on your own, you know. But that's just 2 forks, you know. I don't know what could have happened if I would have went into the military, because the U.S. Army would have said, yeah, you're good to go, you know, because right when I was trying to enlist, you know, right after that, Saddam invaded, you know, Kuwait and stuff like that. And then my bros went over there, you know, Cornell, and a bunch of my bros were over there, and I'm glad to see they're okay, you know, and they're doing good, you know. But sometimes I've worked with, I've done a lot of work with vets. Guys come back from Iraq and Kuwait, and I did a lot of work with guys from Vietnam, you know, helping them out, just different stuff. And yeah, we went through a lot of stuff, but I don't know what would happen if we went that fork. But this other fork that I took on art-wise, it just, man, it just blossomed, and you know, I feel fortunate that things have came my way, I guess, and I made my own steps, you know, and I really didn't have to rely on anybody. I just kind of, you know, with being carried by, you know, my wife, my family, and people, especially my own people, you know, that supported me. It just turned out good, and now I'm just kind of recognized, I guess, at these different places. You know, I got people that collect my artwork from all over the world, and I got I was, you know, China, you know, all over, you know, Eastern Asia, you know, Kuwait, and Dubai, and Europe, and all over the United States. You know, people got my art, and it's really amazing, you know, because I never envisioned myself as an artist, and I still don't really. I don't want to call myself an artist. I'm just this is just what I do, you know. It's like almost like I don't know, but you know, I get excited by these things, be able to do these things, because you know, it's just my own creativity comes out, and people like it, you know. They see what I try to envision in my mind, that I put down on paper or on canvas or from beading or something like that. They think it's just the best, you know. They and you know, I don't know. It could be good, you know. It could be. Most people may be blind. I don't know, but it's just, you know, as a person, it's cool.
Well, we're going to look at a couple examples
Okay.
of your work here, I hope. Is there anything we forgot to talk about before we do?
Let me grab a couple pieces of work, and I'll show you. I'll grab a piece of my beadwork, and I'll grab a couple pieces of ledger art.
Great.
This piece is called Fort Reno, Indian Territory, and that deals with, man, it's just like Cheyenne Arapaho. After we were, you know, forced to settle out here in western Oklahoma after the Red River War, 1875, and it deals with pretty much a lot of the Cheyenne history, and Southern Cheyenne predominantly, but also Northern Cheyenne after Little Bighorn, after those guys were forced down here. And it shows the North Canadian River on the backside where the trees are. It shows an encampment down here. It could be Arapaho, could be Southern Cheyenne. It shows the railroad. It shows the actual fort itself, and it shows some troopers, U.S. cavalry guys on horses. But it also, at the same time, shows either Cheyenne or Arapaho mother looking on. And this fort was established to protect the Cheyenne Arapahos, you know, from, or that's what they say, but you know, they just put out here to, you know, make sure we behaved, I guess you could say. And that deals with, you know, they took land from us, from our tribe. They established that reservation out there, the land, and we still haven't got it back. Our people are still trying to get it back. So that's why I did that piece.
Right.
And this one is called Girl Talk. It's done on a almost like a 12 by 12, I mean 12 by 14 piece, I guess you could say, of paper, and it shows Cheyenne girls being girls. You know, it doesn't matter. You know, girls being a girl, it transcends everything. It doesn't matter if you're Cheyenne, you're Arapaho, if you're Caucasian or Latino. You know, you're a teenager, you're a teenager. So we got girls out there going after water, and they see their friends. It could be their friends or their cousins or their sisters or whatever, whatnot, and they could be out there talking about boys, could be talking about cooking, how to cook this or that, you know, or complaining about, you know, their mom and dad making them do things. Or, so got the camp in the background, and just got these girls. One's got would be an elk hide with a battle scene on there, maybe her dad or her boyfriend or whatever. Next one shows like a Navajo chief's blanket. You know, next one's got a design on it, you know, just that Arapahos and Cheyennes and the western bands of Sioux use. And next one shows another hide with buffaloes on there, you know, that were all powerful. A lot of our, you know, got sons on there. And next one just shows like a red blue blanket with you know, beaded blanket strip on there. Those are just girls out there being girls. That's what that is. Girl talk. This one is it's on a piece of paper. It came out of Tuskegee, Alabama. I think the date on it is 1919. But I titled it Nimihoot. It means I love you in Cheyenne. So it shows what I told my wife was me and her. You know, it shows a Cheyenne woman with a elk tooth dress. You know. Could be antelope hide dress or deer hide, whatever, full, you know, painted yellow. Got a Chiefs Navajo style second phase blanket around her waist, and shows her her husband. And it wouldn't have to be her husband because, you know, they wouldn't dare be caught like that, you know, courting like by themselves. That shows a man, you know, he's got yellow paint on him in his face. He's got a breastplate. Got those little ninjas, whatever they call them, those silver ornaments, armbands, and hanging off his breastplate. Blue strap leggings, you know, breechcloth, you know, Cheyenne moccasins all the way, Cheyenne headdress, you know, with what would be the thing hanging off below it would be like a mountain lion hide with those spots on it. That's what it is. It just shows the Cheyenne man and his wife. You know, they just core thing of being Cheyenne. You know, man and his wife. That's what it shows, just all the way.
That's neat. That's a really nice piece.
This was a birthday gift that I did for my wife.
Wow.
I made her a pipe bag for her. My wife's been through our Hokaya herself a long time ago, and so she needed a place, something to keep her yoke in. So I made that for her. Classic Cheyenne design, woman style pipe bag. So that's what I made her for her birthday. I surprised her. She didn't know I made it. So that was a lot of late night hours when she was asleep, working. And I gave it to her for her birthday one year.
Great present. Well, thank you very much for your time today, George.
Okay.